All right, let's get into it. You know, when we see annual reports, it's easy to just see a bunch of numbers. But DEVCON's 2025 report, it's a whole different story. Today, we're going to look past the spreadsheets and find the real human stories, the passion and the incredible work that fueled a nationwide tech movement, all built from the ground up by volunteers.
So let's kick things off with a huge number, 19,057. Just let that sink in. That's how many people DEVCON chapters connected with all across the Philippines in just 1 year. We're talking thousands of students, professionals, even kids, many getting their very first real experience with tech.
And how exactly did they reach that many people? Well, through 170 different events. But here's the really mind-blowing part. Every single one of those events, from a tiny workshop to a massive festival, was put together and run entirely by volunteers. I mean, think about that. That is pure community-driven power right there.
Okay, so the numbers are seriously impressive, no doubt. But it makes you wonder, right? How does something like this even happen? What does it really take to build a movement on this kind of scale, powered by people who are also juggling jobs, school, and their own lives? That's what we're going to unpack. To really get a handle on the scale of this thing, we've got to start with the giants. It turns out 2 chapters in particular were the massive engines driving these national numbers. I mean, they accounted for more than 2/3 of every single person who attended an event.
And this chart just lays it all out. I mean, look at this. DEVCON Bukidnon, all on its own, brought in almost 42% of the total attendees. And then you've got Iloilo adding another 25%. Together, that is just an unbelievable concentration of impact.
But how did they pull it off? Well, when you put them side by side, you can see they ran a pretty similar number of events. 37 for Bukidnon, 32 for Iloilo. But check out that huge difference in attendees. That tells you they had very different playbooks for achieving that massive reach. So here was Bukidnon's secret weapon, Book Fest. Instead of just doing events for tech people, they went bigger. They created this week-long festival that pulled in everyone. They brought tech to farmers, to local businesses, to artists, engaging over 6,000 people in one giant event. It was basically a masterclass in how to weave technology into the fabric of a whole community. Iloilo, on the other hand, took a totally different route. Their big event, Tech for Tomorrow, was this incredible youth-led innovation showcase. And their whole strategy was laser-focused on that next generation. They had this program called Hour of AI that reached over 1,600 kids in both city and rural schools. They built their scale by planting seeds for the future.
But you know, impact isn't always about hitting huge numbers. While the giants were focused on scale, other chapters were going deep. They were becoming pioneers in some really specialized, cutting-edge parts of the tech world.
Let's talk about Cebu. They launched the very first cybersecurity event in DEVCON's entire history. I mean, in a world where digital defense is everything, they saw the need and took the lead, training people in these absolutely critical skills. That's a different kind of leadership. It's about having foresight.
At the same time, you had Laguna looking at what's next for the internet. Their smart contract code camp wasn't just some lecture. No, it was a hands-on workshop bringing real blockchain education straight to university students, getting them ready for this whole new world of Web 3.
And how do you make a super complex topic, like robotics, fun and exciting? Well, Iligan totally cracked the code. They organized sumo and soccer bots tournaments. They turned a highly technical field into this awesome, accessible competition. It's the perfect way to spark that real curiosity in young people.
So we've seen the massive scale, and we've seen the deep specialization. But now we get to the real core of it all, the why. Because behind every event, every number, there's a powerful human story. This is really the heart of the whole mission. A theme that just kept popping up in 2025 was this deep, powerful commitment to inclusion. It was this drive to bring technology to people who are often left behind, from indigenous communities in remote areas to kids in under-resourced public schools. And this quote from the Bukidnon chapter, wow, it just says everything. This philosophy is what drove them to create an outreach program called Bits of Light for indigenous students at a farm school. They didn't just show up, teach some tech, and leave. They built a real, long-term connection with the community. And just listen to this from Iloilo. After they ran their Hour of AI events for kids who didn't have many resources, they said, "These kids made us realize how unequal the world is, and these are the reason why we will keep going." You see, this isn't just a project for them. It's a deep, personal mission that's fueled by real empathy. And then you have the story of Cebu.
They were dealing with earthquakes, aftershocks, and 2 typhoons. They were terrified they'd have to cancel everything. But the community told them, "We're ready." So the volunteers pushed through, even while juggling their own stress and final exams, just to deliver their programs. That's not just dedication, that is pure resilience.
Okay, so what can we all learn from this? Because these chapters didn't just make an impact, they basically created a blueprint for how anyone can do it.
First off, you've got to be smart and creative with your resources. Just look at Bukidnon's fundraising. We're talking hundreds of thousands of pesos for their big events. For one outreach, they had less than a month to get ready, so they launched a coffee for a cause and partnered with local night markets. It just goes to show when you combine passion with creativity, you can make things sustainable. Laguna actually boiled down their success into 4 key rules for building great partnerships. And it's not just about asking for cash, it's about making sure your values line up, showing what you bring to the table, asking for things beyond money, like mentors or venues, and most importantly, building real relationships that last. But of course, it wasn't all a walk in the park. The report is really honest about the struggles. Chapters in Mindanao, like Davao and CDO, had some major leadership changes that slowed things down. And every single chapter deals with the constant battle of volunteer burnout, logistical nightmares, and just trying to find enough funding to keep going. These are the real-world challenges you face when you're building a community. So when you take all these pieces, the scale, the deep dives into new tech, the incredible heart, and all the tough lessons learned, a really clear picture starts to form. What you're seeing is a diverse and incredibly resilient ecosystem. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, DEVCON's strength in 2025 didn't come from just one strategy. It came from the diversity of the whole network. You absolutely need the giants like Bukidnon and Iloilo to create that huge reach and momentum. And you need the pioneers like Cebu and Laguna to push the boundaries and explore what's next. You need both. One can't succeed without the other. And all of this leaves us with one last big thought. Remember, everything we've talked about today, all 170 events reaching more than 19,000 people, was done by volunteers, just regular people who believe in a mission enough to give their time and their talent to it. So that makes me ask, if this is what volunteers can accomplish, what is the true limit of community-led change?